New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Greetings and welcome, everyone. Grand Rising indeed. I'm Reverend Rodney Gittens. It's my good pleasure to lead us in the study of the science of mind and spirit. And of course, we're talking about today the spiritual mind treatment, mental and spiritual treatment, chapter 11. I want to thank Reverend Reverend Elzia, last week spoke about faith. And so this week, we are following up with the mental and spiritual treatment. And next week, Reverend Victoria Bomberg is talking about causes and conditions. So it's all wrapped up very nicely for you, chapter by chapter. And well, let's get started. First of all, as you already know, we're using the science of mind and spirit. The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. So if you're new to this, just hang in there, strap in, and we've got some wonderful information for you. It's quite daunting to do this on your own. So it's a great thing that we can study this together. We can go over it. It can be kind of wordy, so it helps to put some voice to what we're studying. So first and foremost, I just got to pray in, and it's real simple. It's just going to be, thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. I give thanks for this time together. I give thanks for all those in attendance, all those to come, all those watching the recording, all those participating in whichever way, maybe just watching and listening or typing into the comments. You are all welcome. Shay, good morning. Grand Rising indeed. So, let's get started. So, we're talking about mental and spiritual treatment. This is not the first time it's covered in the textbook. However, this is where he kind of gets into the foundation of what it is. So what is treatment? I like when I first got into this teaching, it seemed like such a weird name, such a word. Like, how does that apply to this spirituality, to this religion, to this philosophy? Why treatment? And it was explained to me, and I came to understand, and I like to share that it's as if you go to a doctor, and there's something ailing you, there's something bothering you. You go to get a medical treatment. Well, this is a metaphysical treatment. So that's where the word applies, and it makes it seem so much simpler when we can just say it's a treatment. It's a spiritual mind treatment. We're dealing not with the mind, the small m, the brain and the workings of the brain. We're metaphysical, dealing with the invisible. However, the spiritual aspect, the spiritual nature, and the spiritual laws by which we live. And so when we're not feeling in accordance with the truth, with life, with our world as we perceive it, as we see it, as we'd like it to be, well, we need some kind of treatment. And so, what is treatment? Take a look at this first in the first page here. Well, actually, 159. Before we even get into chapter 11, it says affirmation. Oops. That's yeah. It says affirmation denials are for the purpose of vitalizing faith, for the purpose of converting thought to a belief in things spiritual. The foundation for correct mental treatment is perfect God, perfect man, and perfect being. So we're starting with this foundation to get our thinking right, our minds right. And that's kind of like the small m, because there's nothing wrong with the big M, mind. Perfect God, perfect man, and perfect being. Thought must be organized to fit this premise, and conclusions must be built on this premise of perfect God, perfect man, and perfect being. We must keep our faith vital if we hope to successfully treat for ourselves and others. So, first and foremost, what are we starting with? The idea of perfect God. There's nothing could ever possibly be wrong with the creator that creates everything out of itself, from itself. I'd like to say for itself, that is individualized as all of its creations. And so therefore, since the creator, which is perfect, creates everything out of perfection, therefore perfect human. And I know that our text is antiquated in the way of using gender as only male. We know that it's human, not just man. And perfect being, we are perfect, kind of like as is. Our beingness is perfect. We are just born that way, So so one of the things that we want to keep in mind before we do anything is that we must keep our faith vital on this very thought, on its concept. Otherwise, what are you having faith in or the faith of if it's not perfection? And that it is the same yesterday, today, and forever. There is never less than perfect. And in order for us to do the treatment, which of course we also call not just spiritual mind treatment, but affirmative prayer. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's going to fall flat. So we have to keep our faith alive, keep it vital. And I mean faith in the perfection, in the positive. There are some people who use faith in a so-called negative way. They have faith that things are not going to work out. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the faith in the perfection of God, of our life and our beingness, of all beingness. And so, again, what is treatment? Science of Mind, page 171, says a treatment is a conscious movement of thought. Well, thoughts are things. I'm just going to break off really quickly there. And things, they have energy within them, and thoughts are things. And so the work begins and ends in the thought of the one giving the treatment. The practitioner, spiritual mind practitioner, and we're talking about trained practitioners, must do the work within him or herself and must know the truth within themselves. And by doing this, the law unfolds the thing which is known by any part of universal mind, is known by every part of it. For it, spirit, is an undivided whole. Okay, so I have a personal acronym for IT, and that's infinite truth. And what is the infinite truth? That God is all there is. God is perfect. That's what it is. And so the practitioner, you, me, anybody, our ministers are practitioners, and there are professional practitioners. And this is the work that we do within ourselves to know this truth, that God is all there is, that perfection is all there is. And we hold this law. We know that this law creates, unfolds the very thing that is known everywhere by any part of this infinite truth, by any part of this beingness, by this undivided whole. So you have the whole of beingness, you have the whole of existence. And in any part of this existence, the truth is known. And if it's known anywhere, it's known everywhere. So just because it doesn't seem like it's known over there by that person who might be oblivious to knowing the truth, it's known on a deep level. It may not be apparent, but it's there. And so I also want to say it's a conscious, take it from the top, a conscious movement of thought. It doesn't happen accidentally. It happens on a conscious level, which is good news. It's good news because our treatment is directed. It's conscious. It's not happenstance. A treatment, and you can call it prayer. It works when it's better, when it's directed. Sure, it can work accidentally. I can say a prayer of, "Oh Lord, I'm hungry," and maybe that's not quite going to get the job done. How am I using the law? How am I focused on truth? And so we want to be mindful that it's conscious movement of thought. I just don't have a thought. It's energized. It's movement of it because it is a thing. It has energy. And so we want to use it in a substantial and effective way. All right. So also on page 164, jump around a little bit, it says treatment. Also, this is still what is treatment? Treatment is a science of inducing within mind, big M mind, the mind that is shared by all, the one mind, the concepts, acceptances, and realizations of peace, poise, power, plenty, health, happiness, and success, or whatever the particular need may be. So there's a science to it. Again, it's not happenstance. We have this in our mind, these concepts, and this is what we're working with. We're working with the realizations. Now, many of you have heard of the different steps in treatment. This is not covered formally in this chapter. And I'm really grateful to be leading this. And now as I was reviewing the chapter, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Ernest Holmes didn't formally introduce steps of treatment, and we'll go over that in just a little while. So I just want to let you know that it's still a science. It's orderly. It reminds me of in the 12 steps of recovery. It said that the steps are in order for a reason. However, that's not what's important. What's important is that it is a science of inducing within the mind the concepts in no particular order, the acceptances and realization that not just what is so, but realizing it, meaning that the realizations are the manifestations of peace and poise and power and plenty, the health, happiness, and success whatever that need may be that we're desiring to manifest. So, so you can get that. You can get that. It's not, again, happenstance. It's not an empty prayer. They're not empty words. The treatment is purposeful, and it's working from within, the inner realization, right? Because so within, it shows up without. It shows up on the outside, you know, as within, and I know the statement is as above, so below. Um, but that above is the inner realm of truth. You know, the above is a high spiritual awareness of our mind, the one mind shared by all. You know, that's the above. And it really is within. You know, heaven is within, God is within, the kingdom of heaven is within. However you want to put it, that inner realization, the inner reality of perfection. And that's what I'm talking about. And this is how I get to understand it. This is how I get to share it. This is how I get to teach it. It's that we need to break it down because it can be very meaty, very wordy, this wonderful philosophy. And that's the thing to remember too. It is a philosophy. You know, it gets to be discussed. It gets to be expressed, explained, discussed, and conversed about. So that way we can really get into it and get the real meaning, not just of what Ernest Holmes wanted us to understand, but how it means for us. And so again, what is treatment? On page 170, he goes on to say treatment is for the purpose of inducing an inner realization of perfection in the mentality of the practitioner, the person doing the prayer treatment, which inner realization, acting through mind, operates through the patient. Why? How does that happen? And I love this because when I do my talk, or when I'm sharing with people, and it could be something as simple as good morning. And what many people don't realize is when we say good morning, we're saying have a good morning. And if we're saying have a good morning, it's something I'm expressing from me to you. It's saying it's a prayer. I pray that you have a good morning. I pray that you have a good day. You know, I pray that you have a good meal. However we put it, we're operating from our inner awareness, our inner realization of good through the one mind, again, that is shared by all. And I say that because we're all one. You've heard that. It sounds like a cliche. However, there's one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. And that life is my life now. And each and every one of us gets to say that. Each and every one of us says, my life is God's life. We are one. As I say, we are ones of the one. We are ones of the one mind, the one life, the one God. Whatever word you choose to use besides God is fine. Doesn't matter. There's only one creator that has created everything out of itself. And so therefore, when we are talking about the inner realization, each and every one of us has this capability within us of perfection. And so the practitioner, the one who's doing the prayer treatment, who's doing the treatment, and it's not called prayer in this chapter. I just want to make it a little bit more able to swallow the word treatment if you're not used to hearing it. The mentality of the practitioner. So the one doing the treatment, first and foremost, is the one having the inner realization, acting through the mind, again, which is shared by all. So the treatment, even though it's being spoken by that one person, by the practitioner, it operates. Okay, it sounds medical. Okay, this is a spiritual medical operation through the patient. It's like, and perhaps this will help also. A patient, a medical patient goes to the doctor and says, "Hey doc, uh, I'm not feeling well in my shoulder or whatever," and the doctor will check it out and will agree, like, "Oh yeah, I can see," and so on that level, on that physical level, the doctor and the patient are operating with the same mind thought, with the same thought. All right, like-minded. They're connected, and so this is what happens with a spiritual practitioner. Not connecting with the so-called problem or issue, but connecting with the mind through the one mind that is operating throughout all of existence, and specifically the patient. So I hope that makes a little sense to you. If so, you can put something into the comments. Just and if you have any questions or thoughts, ideas, or comments, please feel free to throw it into the comments, and I'll do my best to address it. And so again, the practitioner has to have their thoughts in alignment with truth, with the perfection, with wholeness. I just love that word, wholeness. The wholeness of being, the wholeness of beingness. That there's never anything wrong there. That all there is God, because God is perfect, and therefore all that it creates is perfect. And so the only imperfection is through our colored glasses, our vision, which has been distorted and colored by our experiences, which most certainly affect the physical being, and allows us to forget that we are more than that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And therefore, we need some kind of treatment to get us back in alignment with truth, or in alignment if we've never been in alignment. I can only imagine. I know for myself, there are many formative years and after that where I had no idea what that word would even have meant. Being in alignment with truth, with my true nature, with spirit, and that I needed a treatment to get me into that inner realization about my true nature. And so next, we want to talk about why. I'm just leading up to that. What is the purpose of a treatment? And Ernest Holmes, in a number of passages, says mental or spiritual treatment should bring into actual manifestation the health and happiness, which are humankind's normal and divine heritage. And such healing includes emancipation of the mind from every form of bondage through a new concept of God. I just want to stop there for a moment. I know for myself, and maybe there might be somebody out there who can concur with this experience. I thought God was out to get me. I thought that anything, Murphy's law, that's a spiritual law. Murphy's law, whoever Murphy was, that something's going to happen. It's not going to be good. If it can happen, it will happen, and it always seems like it's never in my favor, and that I aligned that with God, and right next to that was Santa Claus, and had the list, and I'm crossing off everything I thought I wanted. But anyway, so form a emancipation of the mind, and that should be a capital M, from every form of bondage, mental, physical, emotional, ways that we can bind ourselves up in the untruth, through a new concept of God, a new concept of truth, capital T. And we're talking about actual manifestation of health and happiness. Oh, normal, divine heritage. Wait a minute. Are you mean that it's normal for me to be healthy and happy? Yes. It's not normal to have pain inflicted upon ourselves, either personally or from anywhere else. Um, the healing power, it goes on to say, the healing power is a consciousness of the unity of all life and the spiritual nature of all being, the healing process. The healing process unites us. This is just our nature. We're united by health and happiness and wholeness. Man's life, human's life, is rooted in the universal and the eternal, which life is none other than the life of God. This is God's life. It is eternal. And therefore, God's creations are eternal as well. Again, we must remember not to be confused on the surface of who we seem to be. So the healing process is in becoming conscious of this eternal truth. My life is God's life. Okay? The only reason I look like I do and you look like you do is because what good would it be if we all looked alike? You know, vive la différence. It's so important that we get that we are so much more than what meets the eyes. What was that TV cartoon toy? Transformers, more than meets the eye. Okay, so we are spiritual beings. We are made from and of the life of the Creator of God. Okay, so the healing power is a consciousness of the unity of all life and the spiritual nature of all being. So just take that in for a moment. So why treat? Because we need to bring it into manifestation. Perhaps it's not showing up for anybody. Maybe it's not showing up for you or people that you know. And so it's vital, again, to have faith in this process, in this healing process, based on the foundation that God is all there is, that God is perfect, and that we, in and of ourselves, are perfect. And I would say, believe it or not, and for the most part, most people don't believe it. And that's why we need to treat. And there are two types of treatment. The first type is argumentative treatment. People are pretty good at arguing. And the argumentative treatment is one where the practitioner treats him or herself about the patient, about the situation. And so it's a process of mental reasoning that the argument happens, saying, to my own self, be true. A logical argument to the universal mind or the principle. And it carries with it complete evidence in favor of this patient. The patient should be healed. So argumentative, and here's an example. And again, the way that many of us now are taught, the argumentative treatment actually starts in the realization stage. That's where the argument begins. And actually, and just very quickly, when we do our steps, basically 5 steps of treatment, there are 3 steps of treatment, and there's one really good step, one really good one, and maybe some of you have heard it. There's a long story behind it. Basically, there was a old woman practitioner, if we want to call her a practitioner, used to sit on her front porch, and people from all around would come because she was known as this master healer. You know, she did a treatment that would just knock everything out the box. You know, they come to her and manifestations, they're good. And so they would come up to her, and I'm paraphrasing the story, and they would one by one, they would come up on her front porch, and they would just talk about whatever the issue was, and she would say, "Tain't so." That's it. Tain't so. And that's a one sentence argument. Tain't so. And that's all you need to know. Yeah. However, there are some people that need a little bit more. As practitioners, we can do that as well. We can, we're not going to listen all day. However, we can just in our minds, we know tain't so. Whatever condition that is, whatever that issue is, I know to God, say, God, yeah, I ain't create that. That is, it just ain't so. Yeah. And now what you're gonna do? All right. So as practitioners, we argue, and let's say the steps are, hey, you recognize it is one power, one presence, one life. That life is God's life. And the second step is unification. I know that I am one with this power. I am of God. God created me out of itself. So therefore, I am of God. And all this God power and energy and love and life is within me. And then we get to say, well, I know whatever that situation, condition is, whatever's going on that I think is wrong isn't true, can't be true, because in God there is no illness, there is no sickness, there is no wrongness. And therefore, it could not possibly be in any of its creations. And that's an argument. Okay? That's an argument presenting the truth. All right? And so when we do that, we're not necessarily just doing it out for the benefit of the patient. We're doing it for the individual mind that is speaking with the universal mind, because it's all part of the same. As I said before in a previous quote, known in any part is known in all parts. It's everywhere. And so that thought, the word, that treatment, that argument is going and it's moving. We're talking about moving thought, moving on a conscious level. That is a conscious argument. It's not an empty words. It's not like, well, I don't think, no. It's like, I know that that's not the truth. All right. Couldn't possibly be true, because in God there is no any of that. And God is the peace, the love, the joy, the health, the happiness, the wholeness. And that is the argument. And the practitioner uses that argument as many times as necessary until the practitioner knows without a doubt, without any doubt, that that is the truth. And so many times when people come to our centers or they send an email for a prayer request, a treatment request, basically we say, well, that will be treated on for a period of 7 days. And however, that's the short version. What I really believe, and what I'd like to mention to people, especially when I have the opportunity to do so in person or over the phone or whatever, I say, we're going to treat at least for a period of 7 days. However, please get in touch with us and let us know that you've received the demonstration. Okay, that something is shifted, something's moving. Be in touch with us. Let me know. All right, because we treat until it's we like if you go to the doctor and you're asking for a treatment, and maybe it's a needle and you get a shot, but you need 10. His doctor's not going to just give you one and like, all right, see ya. We're going to continue to know the truth. Okay. So the patient should be healed. Now, there's another treatment, which is called the realization treatment method. And the practitioner realizes within themselves, without the necessary of step-by-step building up a conclusion. We don't have to do all 5 steps. We don't have to, or 7 steps or 3 steps. The perfect state of the patient. It's a purely spiritual and meditative process of contemplating the perfect human. And if the practitioner arrives at the perfect embodiment of the idea, without confusion or doubt, it will at once produce a healing. Now, it's daunting. I mean, yes, I know that there have been realization treatments that I've used that have had immediate results, have produced a healing at once. And I've done it with myself, and I've done it with, and I've been able to treat others. For the most part, I would say I use the step by step process. However, the realization sounds like this. I know there's only one power, one presence, one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. My life now is the life of the person that I'm doing the treatment for. And that's all there is. All there is God. There is only perfection in the person's mind, body, soul, spirit. And so it is. Amen. It just the high road. It doesn't entertain anything other than the perfection desired, the perfection realized, the perfection that is, the perfect state. Biblically, it's been said that the story of Jesus and many of the stories of walking into the area where there's a lot of so-called sick and ailing people, and he walks up to the person in laying on a cot, and he says, pick up your cot, and next, who's next? Jesus saw the reality of the perfection in whomever he was in front of. There's the story of the centurion who had a servant who was not well, and he said, "Well, Jesus, you speak the word. I know you can heal that person." And Jesus said to the centurion, "Well, I tell you what, you just have that servant, just get up and go, based on your belief that there's nothing wrong with that servant." Jesus was like, "I'm not even getting into it. It's like, I know that servant is perfect, whole, and complete, and it's said like this: just believe that I believe, and on that belief, you tell that person, get back to work." Of course, that's a rough characterization. So, but without confusion or doubt, from the quotes in the Bible, Jesus didn't go over any steps. There's no treatment in the Bible. Jesus was like, okay, it is done. Whatever you thought was a problem is not a problem. Next, So I think with that awareness that, and Jesus represents perfect human, okay? The perfect man, perfect woman, perfect person, the perfect physical expression of God in form. That's what Jesus represents in the book of the Holy Bible in Christianity. Something of which we're all we all study to attain that same perfection of the Christ Jesus, have a Christ consciousness of perfection, of oneness, of wholeness. And that's what we embody. We embody the idea in our mind that Christ consciousness of wholeness of each and every one of us, ones of the one, that unity that we spoke about earlier, in consciousness. You can't help but have that healing. And the practitioner continues to treat in the realization of this embodiment of the idea. Doesn't have to be step by step, but it's continuing to know, however long as necessary, perfection, wholeness, mind, body, soul, whatever, period. Not even looking at a condition, not even recognizing that anything could possibly be wrong. All I know is somebody just needs to be reminded the truth of who they are. Perfect state. So I touched on it, and here we go. Demonstration on page 174. Now, what good is prayer or treatment without a demonstration? It's got to be worth something, right? I'm not speaking these words for nothing. Okay? It's to demonstrate the truth. A demonstration is made when the thing is accomplished which the one treating desires to achieve. Okay? I'm desiring that whatever it is that person desires, that it is already done. Whether it be health, happiness, or abundance. A demonstration is a manifestation. It shows up in form. Because remember, we're dealing with the invisible, the idea. Okay? We're dealing with this idea that as above, so below. Starts in the mind and shows up in form below. It is prayer answered. When the word of a practitioner takes form, this is a demonstration. This is a demonstration. We cannot demonstrate beyond our ability to mentally embody an idea. All right, so let's just take a moment. Mentally embody an idea. We cannot demonstrate beyond our ability to mentally embody an idea. Well, that means we have to embody the idea. Perfect wholeness, perfect health, right and perfect relationships. Whatever it is, we must know it on that mental level and not just the level of the brain, because you got all kind of stuff going on in the brain. You got the ego, you've got, doubts and we have experiences from the past that can kind of get in the way. So we need to move past the regular mental atmosphere. And as I mentioned before, it's the mind, capital M, mentally embody an idea. We get it. We know that this is the truth everywhere. So you want to quote the possibility of demonstrating. No, I'm sorry. The possibility of demonstrating does not depend upon the environment, a condition, location, personality, or opportunity. Again, we're transcending our usual operating, situation. You wake up and you're going about your day on that regular level of mental ability, not requiring very much conscious thought. Okay, we're not talking about that level. This is metaphysical. We're above the physical. We're operating in that high level of awareness. Does not depend on the environment, condition, location, personality, or opportunity. These are the mundane things of our human existence. We're going beyond that. It says it depends solely upon our belief and our acceptance and our willingness to comply with the law through which all good comes. Okay? So we're not sitting down and thinking about, well, I'm not sitting in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right thing. It's none of that. We've risen above that. We're talking about accepting and having the willingness, knowing that there is a law through which all good comes. There's a law for that. It's like there's an app for that. There's a law for that, and the law states that, you know what? It's all available to you for the asking. And I don't mean begging. I don't mean pleading. I'm like asking. And for me, the word ask is another acronym. It means ASK, accessing spiritual knowing. Okay? And so when we access the spiritual knowing, we are aware that there is a law from which the good comes, and we're going to, and we know it works for one, it works for all. Okay? It says the universe will never deny us anything. Never. Unless somehow we can see that it is possible for us to think of something that is impossible for the universe to produce. Is that even possible? I mean, can anybody, and thank you, Deborah and Wayne, for chipping in, you know, uh, yeah. Uh, is it possible to think of something that's impossible for the universe to do? Yeah, you've heard the saying, with God, all things are possible. Well, because of God, all things are possible because God creates all things. So therefore, there is never anything less that can be received or achieved unless we believe so. That's the power of belief. It works for you and it can work against you. Not it. No, we can work for ourselves or we can work against ourselves. I'll put it that way, based on our belief. And so, like the centurion, Jesus was like, "Yeah, centurion, I know you believe what I know, what I do." And so, therefore, with that belief, with that thought, that your servant is okay. And that's how we think. That's how we allow ourselves. It says the universe will never deny us anything. Where, how are we in our belief? Everyone who access spiritual knowledge, knowing, receives according to their belief. If you go to the ocean with a thimble, you're only going to get a thimble full. If you believe that's all you can have, that's all you're going to get. So basically, we're talking about demonstrations. So now, as practitioners or anybody receiving a treatment, but mostly for practitioners, Science of Mind, page 175 says, let's not fool ourselves. The kind of demonstration we believe in is a kind that can be checked by your physician, if one so desires. Should be a period there. However, as I mentioned earlier, when you're asking for a treatment and you talk to your practitioner, yes, I like that. Get to a practitioner. When you go to a practitioner, let them know, hey, you know what? I'm getting this checked out. Not that I don't believe it. Hey, I just want to verify this demonstration. I know many people. I've heard many stories, and I know some myself who have benefited from a treatment. They go to the doctor, and the doctor says, "I don't understand how you're doing so well." Yeah, I know for myself. I had surgery, and every time I went back for my checkup, they're like, "Well, this is awesome. You're way beyond where we expected you to be for your physical treatment." But I was doing other treatment. I was doing my mental treatment. I was treating myself, and I was having remarkable rehabilitation, and I mean double time or more. And so, yeah, get checked out. Say, hey, I know people who have had cancer who they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, "I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it." Okay, and so it says, if we're training for the removal of a cancer, we have not made a demonstration until the cancer is gone and the wholeness of the body is evident to anyone. Don't even have to be a doctor. You walk up to somebody and they're like, "Wow, you look great." And I know people that have said, "Well, yeah, I had cancer," and there just doesn't seem to be any ill effects or anything, and this is just a reminder that says this is not a process of saying peace when there is no peace. It's not saying you are well, you are healed, and the person is still experiencing that condition, which means the practitioner's job is not done. Basically, it's treat, until the demonstration has revealed itself, and the healing has revealed itself, and the healing is the revealing of truth, of perfection in each and every one of us. So it says, while it is possible that we might have to work on a case for some time, there should be some sign of improvement from the first treatment. For every action, there was always an opposite and equal reaction. If this is true, an equal and opposite reaction is automatic, like a reflection, then nothing can, like a reflection which nothing can stop, then the practitioner does not try to create the reflection. He or she tries to embody the image. So we're not trying to make something out of nothing, okay? Or we're not trying to say, hey, yeah, it's not there. It's there now. It's not there. No, we're embodying the image of perfection in the mind. It is being revealed. It is. It's just really called the revealing of truth. Healing is the revealing of truth, of the improvement. Uh, like I mentioned, you don't if you're going to a medical doctor and maybe you need more than one treatment, you don't stop at the first one. You keep going until the idea of wholeness is revealed in manifestation. That's the demonstration. Yes, does that make sense? And it does make sense because that's the truth. And so also, it says there cannot be an embodiment of the image without the appreciation of what the image means. So, someone who is distraught, a practitioner who is distraught, cannot give a good treatment for peace. Okay. So, there must not only be the image in the man's mind who's giving the treatment, there must be an appreciation of what the image means before the image can reflect itself. So, in other words, it's not just the thought of, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, you're whole. It's got to be the feeling, tone. It's got to be the appreciation. Because, think financially, appreciation. What appreciates, it grows, it gets stronger of what that image means. So, it's not just a picture, it's a feeling about that picture. Oh, how awesome it is, how wonderful it is, how, the perfection is revealing itself even now, right now. It's and so it says other words, it's a word and not an embodiment. Gotta feel it in the body. Okay, so this is the combination. This is how it works. Yes, we do our treatments in a calm manner, but on the inside, we're feeling the fire. The word carries power. The word which carries power is one which has conviction back of it. You don't have to shout, you don't have to yell, you don't have to scream, you don't have to beg, plead, or whatever. But just have a conviction that this word carries a power that is embodied in what I know. It's more than a belief. Belief for me is how you be living. You be living from your conviction. All right? The embodiment of it. And so it says, there is nothing in the world more specific than a scientific treatment, but there is nothing that should be so released from outline as a scientific treatment. And that means we don't do it by rote. We just don't because then we lose the embodiment of it. We lose the power. We lose the fire. Okay. If you're just reading, okay, I know there's only one power, one life, that life is God's life, and you're reading it over and over as an outline, outlining to God. No, it's not going to be effective. So we need to be able to embody it, to speak from our fingers, from our toes, from our nose, from all over, from within our body, with that energy and the power of every cell that knows without having to get totally excited about it on the outside. No, it's mental and spiritual treatment. And that's how it works. And so finally, this is from outside resource, which is not so far from the source, Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And this book, Living the Science of Mind, was written to help bring greater explanation, greater understanding to the information in the Science of Mind text. It says, God as spirit is divine presence, And while the principle of this science is the law of cause and effect, the divine Noah operates through a mechanical law. This law is mind in action. When you give a treatment, you should feel that all the power there is in the universe is flowing into your word. Ooh. Believe that truth swings instantly into manifestation through your conviction, for this is a power of your treatment. Be simple and direct. Simple and direct. It doesn't have to be flamboyant, doesn't have to be totally out there, doesn't have to be full of your personality. It can be simple and direct and complete, and it's embodied the power. We are beings of power. We are made in the spiritual image of the divine, and so therefore we have use of the power. And we learn the laws of the universe, the laws that are the same yesterday, today, and forever. And that's why we can have faith in them and use the faith of them, the faith of the divine within each and every one of us, that faith as the foundation for doing our spiritual mind treatment, our mind and spiritual treatment. Okay, we call it spiritual mind treatment. And that's what it is. We are treating this from the spirit, the universal spirit. We are united. This is where we're coming from. And we're operating through the mind, capital M, that is shared by all. So that way, somebody can be wherever they are, anywhere in the world. And as we treat about that situation, about that person, we know that that word is being received. Okay? And we're doing it with conviction. We're doing it with the power. We're doing it with the understanding of oneness, of wholeness. We're doing it knowing that our words have power, and we're using them in a concise way. We're using them in a way that allows us to not only know that it's true, that it's already working. We're continuing to do it. Okay, until we know that the demonstration has been done, we keep doing it. We keep knowing the truth. Okay, and the person receiving, the person who it's about. And I want to say that when we do our treatment, our prayer work, there's only one mind. Everybody's getting it. Okay, so let's be open to receive. The good word. Yes, I'm saying a treatment for such and such a person. However, we're still all one. Okay, we're doing this treatment, and we're blessing and treating the world. We're treating in the realm of the one mind. So again, yeah, it sounds a little deep. Maybe that's not what's covered in the chapter, but I just want to say that when we have this concept, this idea that we are embodying, kind of hard to close the faucet on it. You know what I mean? Open the faucet, feel it. Fire is coming out that faucet. The fire inside, the fire in the belly, the fire in the heart, the fire in the mind. That's the level of our knowing. That's the level of our conviction. I want to give thanks for everyone who's showed up and contributed and watching and listening. And please feel free to share it. And thank you for the comments. And yes, I see Shay. I will most certainly take that prayer request on. And definitely, Wayne, love more. Yes, the more we love. And within that love is that embodiment. Within that love is the desire for greater good and healing and wholeness. Yeah. So, yes, most certainly. This is, and Wayne also mentions love is a creative force of the universe. No doubt about it. God's love has us be available for each and every one to spread that love. Yes. And so, again, I want to thank each and every one. And next week, we have Reverend Victoria Bomberg, talking about causes and conditions. And so, again, why treat? Because there are causes and conditions of the human experience. And so, again, I'm Reverend Rodney Gittens, Senior Minister, founder of One Love Center for Spiritual Living. I am so grateful to be a part of the New Thought Network, and invite everyone to continue watching, maybe catch some of the previous broadcasts, share this one, stay tuned for the next ones each and every Saturday. We're covering the Science of Mind and Spirit textbook. And it's so great that you don't have to do that alone. So once again, peace and blessings. I want to give thanks to Reverend Brzezinski, who helps monitor and put all this together, and to all of the ones who are going through this chapter by chapter. Peace and blessings. Enjoy, have a good life, and whenever necessary, get thee to a practitioner. Okay, and get a treatment. Yeah, treat yourself to a good life. Peace and blessings.